What up, YouTube? Back with another one. This will be from Rebel News. Link in the description for the video. One is for the Online Safety Act. It's assault on free speech. I'll just get straight into the video, really.
Justin Trudeau called it the Online Harms Act, Bill C-63. It would have become law had he not dissolved Parliament. It was the Censorship Act that created 3 new censorship bureaucracies and allowed massive fines. Well, the UK has that law. They call it the Online Safety Act, but it's very similar. They're using it with great and brutal force, and obviously they're using it for political purposes. What's interesting
Yeah, and so I'll just quickly interject is that it's interesting to see just how key a global player the UK still is, but despite people having disparaging things to say about UK's potential waning international clout, that this law passed in one country has caused a whole cascading effect around everybody else. Instead of just treating the UK as a pariah state and just saying, "Oh, we're going to withdraw services from your country," it's been that it become a big thorn in everybody's side. And just for clarity, no, I'm not really in favour of this law being passed. However, I regretfully do believe it's here to stay. As I've said in a previous video, it's like the ring from the Lord of the Rings. Nobody's really going to want to throw it now in Mount Doom, whoever takes power, in my opinion. It's too powerful of a tool to be able to keep and maintain power and guide policy, potentially.
is that this time around, the United States has a Department of State that really cares about freedom of speech. Under Joe Biden, the State Department worked with foreign allies to limit internet freedom around the world. The State Department was actually with the bad guys, funding them. It's the opposite now. Now, Secretary Rubio points out people around the world who were censoring Americans or American tech platforms and bans them. Just today, Alexandre de Moraes, the out-of-control crusading judge in Brazil that put censorship orders on social media, he was hit with a Magnitsky Act sanctions, basically freezing him in any dealings with the U.S. Imagine that. The U.S. State Department putting sanctions on censors. Well, what are they going to do in the UK? Because that Online Safety Act is doing the same thing. Joining me now to talk about this is a man better positioned to talk about this than
It is interesting to see how it will pan out. It's potentially the only way for it to disappear is from external power from a greater economic force. But this could be the only way it does disappear. Cause I don't think we from internally from within the UK can now achieve that. Other than if it was to take a very unlikely candidate who would be morally virtuous enough to discard with such a powerful law.
just about anyone in the world. He was the senior tech editor at Breitbart.com. He's from the UK originally, and now he works full-time for Freedom. In fact, that's the name of his organization, Foundation for Freedom Online. You know who I'm talking about. He's the managing director there, our good friend Alum Bokhari. Alum, there's a lot going on, and Trump's freedom agenda is spreading around the world. Tell me the latest.
So the Online Safety Act in the UK just went into force. It went into force on the 25th, a few days ago. And if you look at my Twitter feed, you'll see already examples of dissident political speech being placed behind age filters. So you're asked on X to give up your driver's license to prove how old you are, to prove you're over 18 before you can access political content, which is very interesting because the Labour government of the UK, their ministers who fully back this law, introduced by the previous Conservative government, they're doing a media tour right now saying the online safety bill is only about protecting children from harmful content like pornography. Well, it turns out some of that harmful content that they're protecting people from is in fact political content. We've already seen a opposition MP, Katie Lamb.
Yeah, and like the videos that I've done on this so far just haven't gained any traction whatsoever, to be honest. Every time I've done one, I think it'll do well because it's obviously a current topic. It just goes to thin air. Even some of the videos I've got, just walking around, for example, Sheffield City Centre, without me even talking, I've done better in an overall amount of time than the videos I've done on the Online Safety Act.
Yet put behind an age filter because she was talking about migrant crime. On my feed, you'll see an account, a very funny account that simply makes fun of the UK for occasionally looking like a third world country. People are being asked to prove their age, to give up their driver's license, just to view that account. So this is how the Online Safety Act is being used already. And as you said, Ezra, at the start, there was a similar law in Canada. There's going to be a similar law in Australia. There's a vast censorship regime with similar measures in the European Union called the Digital Services Act. This is an international assault, a convergence against free speech that we're seeing in every single Western country around the world.
Yeah, and he's right. It sounds a bit tinfoil, I suppose, to cynics, but it is correct. This isn't happening by accident. This is a coordinated effort, and that's maybe why the UK was one of the first movers. Not be part of the EU anymore, not being, sort of being able to be able to pass new laws more freely, because we are still in the process of, settling in after Brexit. So yeah, that's potentially why we've been like sort of forerunner on this.
Except the United States now. But as you said, the United States helped create this under Joe Biden. This is in part, we're dealing with the
Yeah, and this has been my point in previous videos in a way. I mean, I think this is the point he was making, is that this has sort of come from America first. Like the old woke thing, cancel culture, like the old concept of privilege, critical race theory, Antifa, Black Lives Matter, like all of it can go on forever. And Europe and Canada and Australia are all downstream of American culture, and thus this is the backlash. And while America, as Donald Trump at the moment, a seemingly get out of jail free card just at the last moment, things were looking far worse there than they were around the rest of the world, in my opinion, up until Trump's second term. So things, we'll have to see what happens in America after Trump's finished his current sitting, but the world's in a tricky spot in this regard, in my opinion.
Knock-on effects of what the US government was doing under the previous administration when they backed censorship all around the world.
I'll add to that, just today, an Irish court ruled against X.
And another point, I suppose, just quickly, is that I find it somewhat. I mean, as I say, I'm not in favour of this act being passed. I'm against it. But the most censorship I've ever faced has been from Americans, has been from Google and YouTube, Facebook, so from Mark Zuckerberg. And there's probably other examples I just can't think of on the spot at the moment. But any time I've been censored and I've had accounts taken down or removed, etc., and my message or voice being stopped, it has been from an American source, which has stopped it. And yes, you could say that's a byproduct of it being an American source that I'm utilising to send the message out, which is correct. But I still think it's worth pointing out that Americans have been censoring the rest of us for far longer than what has been the opposite way around, which I think is why this is quite interesting, to witness this occurring in history, irrespective of which way this pans out.
Twitter in favor of the government bringing in more censorship laws. It looks like a big showdown, and normally America versus the world, where there's a lot more of the world than there are Americans, but all the tech companies and all the economic power and the moral authority of that bully pulpit, I'd bet on Trump and Secretary Rubio, who's sort of in charge of this. He has not been shy. I'm rooting.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably obvious that while there are less Americans than anybody else, it's because they're the largest consumer base, spend the most money, you know what I mean? So it's sort of like the golden goose you need to keep safe, essentially.
For the good guys. I want to come back to something you said a minute ago, which is in the UK, people now have to enter a government piece of ID to see something. The government says that's just for things like child abuse or pornography. They're doing that because who would be against that? Well, as you point out, it's touching on regular politics stuff too. You said you have to prove you're 18, but it's more than that, isn't it? If you're uploading a driver's license, you're saying your name. So you're showing the government or whoever's collecting that info who you are. You can't read anything privately now. And who knows if that data will be hacked. I mean, I don't want to be paranoid.
Yeah, I think I've said this in the past, but the USA is turning into Demolition Man, and Britain is turning into V for Vendetta. That appears to be the two films that both countries are headed into.
But I don't trust the government with my data. Do you?
That's right, and you should see it as a stepping stone to ending internet anonymity, which is a lot of the same supporters of these type of measures. They hate online anonymity because that's the ultimate form of free speech. You're expressing your opinions without putting your name out there, without risking your reputation. That's a form of free speech that's even more powerful than regular social media. And by making people give up their personal identifying information just to access political speech online, you're creating a stepping stone to end anonymity. In addition, you're putting that information on an online database. You're entrusting some third party with it, which may not be entirely secure. We just saw in the United States, there was an app, it was called T. They asked every user to upload their driver's license, and it turns out their security was really shoddy. The entire database leaked. So there was an ironic element of karma to it, since the whole app was sort of a doxing platform, a Me Too platform, and then everything leaked. But you're uploading these documents. How can you be sure that the place you're uploading it to is secure, even if they're trying to be secure, even if they're not sharing it with the government or with journalists? It could leak at a future date. You don't know how secure that's going to be.
Yeah, it really is Orwellian. Hey, there's one more thing I want to point out, and can you corroborate this? I've seen this by a few people on Twitter, and it looks authoritative, that this Online Safety Act expressly says, and I mentioned some of the things, it's designed to protect young viewers against violence and pornography and fraud and suicide. And again, that's designed to get people to say, oh, of course, I support that. But then they sneak the politics into that. They did that in Canada's Bill C-63 too. So you have all these well-meaning things. Who could possibly disagree with them? But stuck in there, and you correct me if I'm reading this wrong, subject matter including, quote, illegal immigration and people smuggling. So you can't talk about suicide, and I can understand. Go ahead.
Yeah, we cannot let them have this narrative. This is the narrative they're running with. They're even accusing Nigel Farage and the Reform Party, which opposes this bill and has promised to repeal it, of being on the side of child predators. They're completely running with this narrative. But if you
the opposition always seem to have to use the most extreme examples a lot of the time. Like, got to say that you're obviously got to be a paedophile. If you're against something which is potentially, but which they are arguing is used to protect children. It's a bit of a weird one, because obviously when you were making the argument that it's going to be used to silence people, which I would in fact argue is occurring, but so it's still so early at the minute. It's tough, trying to gauge it. But yeah, I'll just continue the video anyway.
You go to the UK government's official guidelines on the Online Safety Bill, so the official government website, you'll see it's right there in bold.
Yeah, and as we all remember from the the thing that happened in the world in 2020 that we can't really talk about, and some of the other assaults on common sense, we would say, such as some of the other issues that the woke tried to navigate into the real world, is that mis and disinformation were hard facts were told to your face that you were disinformed or misinformed for believing these things, such as that a man has XY chromosomes, and they tell you to your face that is not how the science of it, and it still is, and so you could see how mis and disinformation can already, before this was even ever passed, be used as a way of trying to silence opposition to positions that people might try to take.
text, I put this on my Twitter feed as well, that the act covers mis and disinformation, that it covers hate speech, that it covers all of these pretexts that are used for censoring political speech. And, you know, government ministers in the UK, when they're out doing TV interviews, they'll only talk about the child protection measures. They won't talk about what they're talking about in Parliament, where government ministers are saying, yes, this act does cover misinformation. And in fact, government ministers have even said that a key purpose of the bill is to prevent the kind of riots that were seen, the kind of public disturbances that were seen in the UK last year, because people were organizing organically to protest immigration and migrant crime and illegal immigration. That's not about protecting kids. That's about...
Yeah. And so we see, well, I was going to say that has been my only glimpse so far of this being used to silence people, is the old migrant thing at the minute, especially with him forming the task force to try to police us on that as well. It's indeed scary times, if I'm honest. But as I've said before, we're just going to have to see what happens for me. I mean, there's nothing I could personally do. I'm just trying to give my thoughts on it. Quite new to this YouTube thing, hence why I sometimes seem to blank halfway through saying things. It's tough making videos, but if you made it to this point in the video and you're still listening, thank you very much, and please like the video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll endeavour to continually get better at this all YouTube business. I'll see you in the next one.
shutting down political activity.